Making your way in the world today takes everything you've got. Taking a break from all your worries sure would help a lot. Wouldn't you like to get away? Sometimes you wanna go where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. You wanna be where people can see your troubles are all the same. You wanna go where everybody knows your name.
Hello, gentlemen. How are you
Hello,
all
Ross.
doing?
Very good, thank you.
Afternoon, Ross. How are you? Afternoon, Nigel.
Afternoon, Arthur.
Well, it's great to have everybody back for another series of our authors podcasts. Did everyone have a good Christmas and New Year?
Very good.
Yeah.
Really good.
As well as can be expected, isn't it? So I think that's
Yeah.
about it. Yeah, everything went all right.
Yeah, well, it was a bit different, wasn't it, this one?
Certainly.
But very subdued at times, but I found it quite relaxing. It was nice to have a break from work.
Yeah, it's I think it was sort of forced relaxation, really, wasn't it? Whereas you'd normally be obliged to go places and to do things and to see people. And when I say obliged, do you know what I mean by that? It's one of those things that you feel you have to do at Christmas. At least it was just down to immediate family, and it was actually really nice. I quite liked it. No running around. You could just sit down and enjoy each other's company. It was quite nice.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it was quite. I mean, there was I think some challenges around people with extended families and things like that. But you're right. I mean, the shopping bit, that I thought that was actually quite nice, to be honest.
Yeah, it was.
And, take that pressure away.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, well, me and Caroline click and collect now. So it only takes 20 minutes now. Just take 2 hours. But Caroline does it online. You just drive in, open the boot they do, chuck it all in, and you're home in 20 minutes. So there's no. I find shopping quite stressful, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's the thought of spending money, Arthur.
Probably, yeah. And I keep losing the missus, like, for some reason, I don't know, but I look around and she's gone, like. And she treats me like a dog. And she treats me like a dog, obviously, because
you definitely you 100% know that you losing her, and it's not the other way around.
Well, she treats me like a dog. Like, she put me at the end of the aisle with a trolley and says, "Stay there," and I just stay there like a dog. And,
well, she used to tie you up outside the shop, didn't she? So it's probably better this way.
Yes,
she didn't like. She doesn't like me cocking my leg on aisle 4. When I pass, I'm always cocking my leg. So I don't know.
Right, moving swiftly on. Yeah, so we're back for another series of this, and I was kind of thinking what we're going to talk about, and we've had a bit of time because obviously we had to negotiate a fee with Mr. Williams here to make sure we can get the famous one on you. And I thought I'd start sort of this because we can do this in a new format and probably a few more episodes, but I kind of wanted to start the podcast this year by asking you two initially what it feels like to be completely redundant. And I don't mean anything offensive by that, but we seem to be living in a world now where where reality and truth is a lot more incredible than fiction. The reason I bring that up is over Christmas I've started watching that new version of The Stand, the Stephen King's The Stand, and watching that as a piece of fiction and sort of feeling that actually this all feels a bit close to home right now. Obviously it's an exaggerated stage, but I was just kind of wondering that, like, as fiction writers yourselves, the Terry Maguire series and other publications that you've done, what does it kind of feel like now when reality is just kind of outdoing you boys day by day?
Go on, Arth. You can answer that one.
Well, I don't see any difference, truth be told, Ross. you know, I mean, obviously, what I miss about um, within this lockdown is actually meeting people face to face.
Mm.
But I'm quite a sort of personable bloke. And like when Caroline's off doing her thing, I'll jump in the car, I'll go and see my relatives, or I'll see a couple of friends or whatever. So that's what I really miss about it. But as for other changes, yes, there've been other changes. Like we mentioned the way we shop. But there again, that's taken stress out of that, So there are certain things that are less stressful, obviously. And I think it's sort of it's how you cope with it. Like I say, I'm 70 years of age, I'm retired, my kids have flown the nest, etc., etc. So the pressure's on me and my wife totally different to say a couple in their 30s with two children, both working, childcare,
Like me, you
schooling.
mean?
Yeah, like Nigel. So I think the pressure come from different ways for different people. I think the older generation are handling this better than the younger generation, truth be told. From what I don't watch the news much now, but from what I can gather, the older people, I listen to the radio a lot, and you don't get very many young people coming on like Radio Wales in the mornings, sort of putting their angst forward. It's the older generation, and they seem to be quite at ease with it to a degree, unless you're living on your own again. If you're 85 years of age living on your own, it must be very, very difficult. Like myself, I'm 70, I got my writing, blah blah blah. I get up in the morning, I open the computer. If I want to write a poem, I write a poem. So there's always that about it. But yeah, time, like you say, times are difficult, and I don't think we'll ever go back to normality, personally.
Yeah, and I think what you're saying about truth and fiction, I think this has just tipped everything on its head, really, because nothing now is out of the bounds of reality, really, is it? Things that we thought were impossible just 18 months ago, 2 years ago, now it's just it's just unbelievable, really. If somebody had written this, I know people have got close to writing similar sort of storylines, but it's whenever you read something like that, you think, well, that's the worst case scenario. That's never going to happen. But of course, it has happened, and we've been thrown into something at short notice, and we've been found to be wanting. To be perfectly honest with you, I think the way that things have been handled in the UK, the USA, and some of the so-called leading nations of the world, I don't think they've handled it very well.
No, I agree. I mean, last year as a year, I think is completely played out by. I would say it was almost like a movie that was written by Oliver Stone and David Lynch. And everything just seemed to fuel everything else. And I think a lot of the protests that we saw and things like that, which I don't want to go into because it's politics and it's boring, but obviously a lot of that was fueled by the lockdown and frustrations that were being felt because people felt caged. These imagined freedoms that were kind of taken from us. Maybe a bit worse in the US than over here because obviously it was an election year and other things were going on anyway. The way I think the way the media has behaved internationally has been kind of irresponsible. I think the sensationalism of news has been completely irresponsible. And I just think we've seen such a change in, if we want to use our word normal, right? I mean, what does that probably even mean anymore now? But I just thought it was kind of strange, especially like, for yourself, when you're sitting there and you're writing a plot for your books, and I know like there's a lot of true crime and real life based crime, but I also know, Nigel, you write the more sort of the fantasy elements and stuff as well. And I just kind of wonder that, you're right. There's going to be a lot of people writing about this now, and there's going to be a lot of conspiracy books, and there's going to, we've even seen it now with the vaccine, right? But I guess it's kind of like where before I think there was a definitive line between truth and fiction. I think that's been just completely annihilated over the last 12 months. And I guess I was wondering, what that's like for a fiction writer to, I mean, I write poetry, so a lot of what I write is kind of real world anyway, or to do with thought processes. But when you're sitting there and you're coming up with a plot, I mean, have the goalposts moved?
Well, I'm lucky in that respect because I don't write plots. I leave that to Arthur. No, I do think that it's a double-edged sword, really, because it sort of now makes us all aware that whatever's written, however fanciful that is, it could possibly be true. There is so much misinformation at the moment. And again, it depends on what you want to believe, I think. If you look at some of the headlines, some of the events and things that have been going on, the so-called fake news made famous by a certain man with a wicked hairstyle, anything is possible. So I think that is one aspect of it where I think for writers now, there are no holes barred. But the other side of that as well is it becomes increasingly more difficult to come up with something that's really original. But then again, writers don't generally write anything original. There is nothing original under the sun. It's just a twist or a slant on something that makes it slightly different from somebody else's book,
Yeah.
So it is a double-edged sword, I think.
Yeah, no, I agree. What do you think, Mr. Cole? Do you think?
Well, I think certainly the biggest problem that the United Kingdom had when they started, we had 4 governments. I think that's the first. That was the first sort of buffer. Because as it went on, the first lockdown, and we sort of the R number dropped, and then we sort of come out of it. Everybody else did their own thing. Then they all did their own little thing. Like had Mark Drakeford on, you had Boris on, you had somebody else, Sturgeon on, and I said to my missus, I said they've split there. It's a 4-way split. As you know, Cara and our daughter lives in Singapore. They got a population of over 5 million people. They're not far from China. The majority of workers are Chinese. We got a population of just over 3 million. We got 4,500 deaths allegedly. They've got under 50. Now, what does that tell you? They controlled it the right way. Yeah, it may be a bit draconic the way they've done it, but once this is over, they'll be in a far better position than this, because we'll still go back to 4 governments at loggerheads. End of.
I think the 4 government approach, I don't think that was right, because and you've seen it now with the vaccine, right? We've seen league tables about who's doing best at giving the vaccine. And also because of the nature, of the political makeup of those governments, they're all different political parties. So there's a lot of posturing that's taking place and things like that. So you're right. I don't think that's helped. But I mean, when you look at it, I mean, I'm not sure what you think, Nigel, but I think this comparing countries to other countries, I think that's been one of the most dangerous parts of it. Because I don't think you can do it, because climates are different and population age is different and population density is different and behaviors are different. So to compare one country to another country, I think is really sort of quite difficult, to be honest.
Yeah, certainly. And health services are different as well. It's you just cannot do it. I think you're right in saying that. You're on a slippery slope if you start comparing one country with another. But I still believe that the major problem, especially with the second explosion of infections, there's no coincidence that it occurred in September, October. It's when everybody went back to school, college, university. It's unfortunately, I understand the need to keep schools open. I do. You've got to get parents back out to work. The economy suffers when people are staying at home. But the truth of the matter is, and you won't see the statistics, you won't see the data for it, because it's not something the government want to show anyone. But there is no doubt at all that the schools, the colleges and universities are the major infection hotspots. And the only way you're going to stop this is if the government decide, right, we are going to stop it. You close everything down again, and nobody wants to see that happening. But if you want to stop it, that's what you're going to have to do. And they don't want to stop it enough, I don't think. And unfortunately, until this vaccine is rolled out across the country for everybody to take part in, then I think we're going to have to stick with this for at least till the end of the year.
I personally can't understand. I cannot get my head around when the first wave started and gained impetus, where these health blokes were coming on the channel, and I never used to watch a lot of it. I put it on now and again. Then they'd be saying, there will be a second wave in October. Then all of a sudden, come the summer, we open everything up. And I would have liked to have seen the lockdown continued from March, even up until now, because I think then this infection rate would have dropped dramatically.
Yeah,
and then
I agree with you.
The vaccine would have come on board, and perhaps we could have eradicated it by August. I don't know. When you go back to other countries, I don't think we took best practice from other countries. Out in Singapore, they had an app, like immediately. Carol and I, you knew exactly if you were in a taxi where the driver was infected, they were getting in touch with you on your phone and saying, look, you were in a taxi 3 days ago, you've got to self-isolate for a fortnight. And if you didn't self-isolate, they'd come in looking for you. Simple as that. Now, we've come to the position now that Tesco's and you must wear a mask. We should have been doing this last March. The government have reneged a little bit on that. Now, all of a sudden, say you will comply now, the government. That should have been in the beginning. Right, it's a bit draconian, but people will get used to it. That's what we get used to these things, wearing a mask in the shop and then coming out, jumping in the car, washing our hands and taking it off. Simple as. And I think that's where the four governments have been doing all the different little things, and we've ended up now where you will do this a little bit. You will wear a mask now in a shop, in a supermarket or whatever. And I think it's too late, personally, because if this virus is as virulent as they say, it's there, you know. The only way you're not going to catch it is stay in the house like me.
Yeah, I mean, it's I mean, like I said, let's not
No, let's not get political.
Otherwise, you know, Google and Facebook and big tech will come for us all one day and censor us all.
That's right. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, so one of the other things I kind of been watching sort of lots of TV and a fair bit of science fiction over Christmas, just as a bit of escapism. And that kind of led me on to what I thought we would cover on this little series of ours. So I kind of wanted to look at what the weirdest, if that's even possible now, but the weirdest sort of news stories of last year. I know you guys have had a look as well. And one of my pet sort of interests, I guess, is the concept of unidentified flying objects.
I've got it on my screen here.
Have you? Is this the April one?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
No, so yes, it is April. Yeah.
Well, do you want to take this one and take us through it?
Well, I've got it on News Talk here, and it says in April, the U.S. Department of Defense released 3 declassified videos. Is this the one you're talking about?
Yeah, word for word, yeah.
Of unexplained aerial phenomena. The Pentagon said, the Pentagon said it wanted to clear up any misconceptions by the public on whether or not the footage that has been circulating was real. The US Navy confirmed that while it was still unsure what the objects were, the leaked footage was real. The clips taken in 2004 and 2015 show several mystery objects flying through the sky at high speed. Published by the To the Stars Academy of Arts and Science, that's the TTSAAS, they included audio from US fighter pilots expressing amazement at what they were seeing. After they were first leaked, some people claimed the video showed alien unidentified flying objects. Well, back in August, this is another one now coming on here, two dogs who are brothers. I just want to get onto this one before we go back to the alien one, because this is great. Two dogs who are brothers were reunited after their respective owners spotted a likeness in photos posted on Twitter.
Right.
So go. So that's an amazing identification. Imagine them in a lineup, Arthur.
I know. God alive. It's so funny it is.
Yeah, the alien one is really interesting because there's always been speculation about the UFOs, and we all know that whatever comes out of NASA or US Navy or US Pentagon, CIA, if you want to believe that, then fine. But generally speaking, it's going to be a load of nonsense.
Oh, a little bit like Donald Trump's mouth.
So what do you think, Arthur? Are you a believer in the phenomenon?
I think there are beings out there. I don't think we're the only species in the world, in the universe, to be honest with you. But a funny one I liked was it out in Spain when this lockdown started. As you know, in Spain, they pretty sort of on the ball out there, like, you know what I mean? Steve James lives out there, and Steve was driving to the supermarket one day with his missus, and it's like 10 minutes away, and next minute he stopped, you know, all tooled up, the blokes, machine guns and everything. I said, where are you going? Or where are you going? And Steve said, I'm going to Lidl's. No, you can't go to Lidl's, you've got to go. And they send him to another supermarket. No, you're not going there, you're going there. And I'm actually directing him. And then they came out with this thing, you can only go for a walk with a dog in Spain, right? You can't go with a Vietnamese pot-bellied pig, right? So what happened then? People thought, well, how do we get around this? So there was all these reports of dinosaurs everywhere.
Dinosaurs?
Dinosaurs.
Right. Yes.
And what, like, they were having a report like in, what do you call it? One of the resort, Ben Al Madina, there's two dinosaurs walking down the square. So the police go there all tooled up, and there's two fellas dressed up as dinosaurs, like out walking. You know, the only thing they didn't have was a dog with them. But
wow.
It's quite funny, you know, how people
Rex is a good name for a dog, don't it?
Rex, yeah, of course.
Rex. I got a funny story about a dinosaur when in the police, but I'll keep having another day.
Yes.
But so you do get something sort of humorous out of it as well. And if it's on the news, I read about that, but if it's on the news, I think it does brighten you up a bit, because at the minute you put the news on, I put the radio on in the morning, 8 o'clock, and it's either COVID, education, vaccine, for hours and hours. I'd like to put the news on perhaps, and a few funny stories, like, you know what I mean. I got a funny poem about Boris here, about Donald Trump. Yeah, if we have time, I'll read it here.
Let's leave the Donald. That's going to be an entire episode on his own.
I wrote it in November, and it's what I said have come true, actually. So, you know, perhaps perhaps I've got a bit of this
Nostradamus of Cairo.
What do you call it? PMS. What do you call it?
You've got a bit of PMS.
PMS. Yeah, that's about right.
PMST, that's what I'm talking about.
Do you mean ESP? ESP?
What?
ESP, I think you're talking about.
Oh, yes, that's the one. ESP, that's what I was after.
What about you, Nigel? Aliens?
Well, when you think about the number of possible planets out there with life, the only problem with sort of encounters here is that if they are getting here, they're getting here through some technology or means or some quirk of physics that we've got nowhere near understanding as yet. I think it's likely that there's life somewhere else, intelligent life, probably, possibly more intelligent than certainly us here today. But whether or not anything is able to travel those distances is another kettle of trout. It's just unbelievable as far as our understanding of the universe and physics as it stands at the moment. But then again, we don't know it all, do we? And
No.
and I'm certainly not calling anyone who's seen anything that's unexplained a liar, that's for sure, because people see things and they believe what they see, and try to make sense of that. So until I see it myself, then I'll just sit on the fence and say that I believe anything is possible, just that perhaps we not quite just yet, I think.
Yeah, I mean, there's a certain amount of arrogance, I think, to it that we assume that they would want to come and visit us at the moment. But I mean, depending on, there would be, people out there, and I'm not saying me, but people that would believe that the release of misinformation is actually better as part of an overall cover-up to what might really be going on. The videos they're talking about, they were leaked in 2007 originally, I think, and then 2017 later on. But yeah, I mean, I saw a great interview with a guy who was a believer and a very intelligent man as well. And because, these ufologists, they are proper scientists now. And he said that, to say that you've never seen a UFO, he said that that's the same sort of people that put their toe into the ocean and then wonder why a shark didn't bite it off, because that's kind of like the vastness of the universe, right? So, but yeah, it's interesting stuff. There's no way it's just us, is there? Surely can't. There's got to be more than us.
No, of course. But the only thing I would say that makes it more difficult to for some people to believe is that if you were an alien and you flew into our atmosphere and saw who was leading the countries at the moment, would you want to land? The problem is we have countries all around the world. There's racism. People can't get on with each other for reasons of skin or political opinions, and they're really, really at each other's throats over these things for some reason I can't understand. And would you, as an alien, somebody with big buggy eyes, with green skin or whatever, want to land here in amongst all the bigotry? I would think I'd turn around, go back and say, I think I'll come back in 200 years.
Yeah, I mean, they come down, they'd wonder why Caroline has tied Arthur up outside Tesco's. They go, what's wrong with him? He'd be like, Arthur be going, it's click and collect, boys, it's great. It's great. But no,
that's
right.
what they're doing.
That's what they're doing, yeah. If they abducted Arthur, they'd bring him back in about 30 minutes, I think.
No, they'd breed, but they'd breed out of me, but
what would they breed out of you?
Well, I don't know. You could be anything, couldn't it? It all depends. You know what I mean? I often wonder if these aliens will be able to write a thriller.
Yeah.
See, you mean you can go off in tangents, can you?
So
they could abduct you and say, Arthur, how do you write these thrillers? I say, well, I got to have Nigel with me, so you'll have to beam him up as well.
So they've travelled from 20 billion light years away to visit the planet Earth because they want the next Terry Maguire novel.
Exactly.
Well,
but,
boys, I'm glad
Nigel's right what he says. Like, you look around the world now, we're seeing a mess, isn't it? Let's be honest. It's quite depressing, actually. This is why I don't watch the news anymore. Terrible.
Well,
terrible.
like you both know, I stopped watching the news last year, and purely for the peace of mind, really. But it's maybe it's because I'm kind of an optimist, which is kind of weird because if you ever read what I write, I don't sound like an optimist. But I think there's so much wonderful stuff in the world, but we only get a fraction of it, don't we? We only get, you know, the negative. We never get the positive.
No.
And I think if
Do you remember the days? Do you remember the days of the news where they always used to finish on a lighter note?
Yeah.
They don't do that anymore.
No. they
The
don't.
only news I used to enjoy was the two Ronnies.
Okay.
You understand me? Light-hearted, you know, funny, you know, and like Nigel says, they've taken that away from the end of the news. You know what I mean? You know, you're always left now, and you put the telly on. Whatever time you put the telly on, it's either young kids in other countries, you know, with terrible medical conditions, donkeys being. I think myself, God alive, you know what I mean? How depressing is this? It's unbelievable, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's only so much you
dragged
can
us
do.
down there. Huh?
And there's only so much you can do as well. You're
Oh.
bombarded with charity appeals, and
Oh,
if you choose one and stick with it and support it,
yeah,
then that's about all you can do, really.
Exactly.
Unless you're extremely wealthy and you can
exactly.
put your hand in your pocket for each one of them. It does actually get you down, because you think, if you can't afford to help them, it's like seeing these gambling adverts on TV, you know,
Oh,
with these
terrible.
people who should know better,
Dreadful.
extolling the virtues of playing
Dreadful.
bingo and all the rest of it online, with no checks and balances. It just gets you down. It's so depressing. Finishing the news on a high just gives you a little bit of an uplift.
There's no balance anymore, is there?
No, there isn't.
There's no. It's sort of one. It's like this. It is. It's totally tipped one way. You know what I mean? Like you say, with the charities, the money that some of these people are earning, these chief executives, phenomenal money. And then you've got the boy Ratchford, who's done a fabulous thing with the free meals. You know what I mean? And then you've got all this avariciousness one side, and you've got all this poverty the other side. There's nothing in between. There's no sort of. There's a big crevasse between it. And I going back, not political, but I again go back to separate governments. This, you know, we're doing a bit here, a bit there, but it's too bitty. It's like a cake. It is, you know. It's you know, everything should be like when you're working in a team. It's got to be compact. You can't fragment it. You know, you've got to be tight. And I think what's happened with the news is just gone that way, and they've left it go, and it's just the scales have tipped to depression. Basically, that's what they are. It's actually depressing.
Yeah. Well, let's not depress people.
No.
We've got a couple of minutes left here, so let's go out with a positive news story. So I think these the two dogs, absolutely brilliant. But let me give you a little bit of this one, and then we'll end our first session here. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. A bodybuilder who married a sex doll has revealed she tragically broke just before Christmas.
I read this.
So this guy from Kazakhstan is now waiting to see his wife, whose name is Margot, and he's hoping she can be repaired in time for Christmas, which is celebrated on January the 7th in his country. She is broken. Now she's been prepared. She's in another city. When she recovers, it will be a gift for both of us, he told the Daily Star. But he hasn't explained how she got broken.
So your repair kit. That's all it takes. So Arthur told me.
So
He repaired it with an old inner tube.
Yeah. According to local media, the marriage is legitimate. It's sanctioned. And there's a wedding video. She's got her own YouTube, and she's got her own Instagram account. So how's that for a strange one to bring to part one to a close?
Each to his own, isn't it? You know what I mean? Each to his own.
Yeah.
Well, I've got to say, I was really shocked to find out she had hooked up with a bodybuilder.
Well, she doesn't call.
Well, the only advice I can give him, right, is to get one of them Dunlop tire repair kits, right?
Yeah, exactly.
In the future, And
Yeah.
then obviously if she deflates at any time, you know, just pump her up like.
I don't think you need any greater pun than that to end this conversation. Do you? Pump her up. Right, well, gentlemen, that is it for part one. It has been an absolute pleasure, as always, and we'll continue this subject matter when we rejoin each other shortly.
Yeah,
And,
let us know the bodybuilders again.
well, you can
Yeah, keep us updated.
have a look on Instagram, boys. I'm sure she'll be giving you updates. She'll be giving you updates. So it's yeah, no, there's all sorts of pictures on the Instagram, dinner dates, bubble baths, holidays together. You can keep up with
Well, you
Margot
go,
and Yuri
yeah,
on there.
but you go like that, you know. It's like Mrs. Inch and people like Mrs. Inch has made millions telling people how to keep the house clean.
Mhm.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, but she's real.
Yeah, she's real. She wrote a book how to clean the stove, and off she's gone. Like she's making millions. Unbelievable.
I hope this lady doesn't have too much trouble having the COVID vaccine. Anyway, gentlemen, thank you for your
It's only a
time.
little prick, though.
On that note, thank you, gentlemen.
Take care.
Thank you, Ross.
Speak to you soon. Cheers, guys.
Thank you, Nigel.
Bye.
Making your way in the world today takes everything you've got. Taking a break from all your worries sure would help a lot. Wouldn't you like to get away? Sometimes you wanna go where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. You wanna be where people can see your troubles are all the same. You wanna go where everybody knows your name.